Yeah, yeah. Oh, help me. I'm so lonely. I'm falling.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Realest People in Real Estate podcast, where we talk about the real shit and not about real estate. I'm one of your hosts, Brooke Jones, aka the Millennial Agent.
What's up, guys? I'm your girl Tyra Nicole here.
And I am Nicole Pay, and today we have singer, songwriter, and producer, founder of UNV, owner of Poww Customs, and a real estate investor, Mr. JPoww. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hey, that was a wonderful
How did I do?
introduction. You nailed it.
Nailed it.
It's all good. It's all good.
That was amazing. I practiced a couple times.
Great job, Nicole.
Thank you. But honestly, though, thank you so much for being here. We know that your schedule is crazy, and we are so appreciative that you were able to fit in some time to come hang out with us.
All good. I appreciate you guys having me. No question. It's all love in the D. All love.
There we go.
For sure.
So speaking of D, like you're from, are you from Detroit or from Lansing?
I'm from Lansing.
You're from
Absolutely,
Lansing.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm from Lansing. You are the founder of UNV.
I am the founder. I started the group in high school.
How did that even start? Because it's your
Wait,
brother.
can you explain UNV?
So
what does it mean?
Brooke is 27.
Okay.
28.
28. Oh,
28.
she just, yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. She's
So
28.
she was one when the song was number one in the country. Okay, I got you. Making me feel a little old, but that's all right. It's all right. No, I started the group my 12th grade year, senior year in high school. My brother, who is also in the group, he actually was 1 or 3 years ahead of me, and he was in college. But I started the group with four other members in the initial, and we just started singing at talent shows, doing what we were doing. And then I went on to college at Wilberforce University, and then I met one of the other members in the group, Demetrius P. And then we went on Natalie Cole's Big Break. If many people remember that, it was like Star Search back in the day.
Yeah.
But anyway, we did that show, won the show, and then the labels started coming, and people started asking us what we were doing. And at this time, I didn't have a solid full group, so I called my brother, like, "Yo, what are you doing? You're just down there messing around. Come on back and get in the group for a second." He came back. It was one of those things. So we did the grind thing, singing in local bars, doing what we had to do to make it happen. And the next thing you know, we UNV, Universal Nubian Voices, for your co-host over here. So Universal being a sound that everybody can relate to, Nubian being a strong black togetherness in voices, which we considered we had in the abundance. So that was the name that my brother actually coined the actual initial names portion.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
Your
sure.
brother got lucky with that one.
For sure.
So go ahead. No, go ahead.
So were you always into singing, or how did that come about?
No, what's
growing up?
crazy is I was a rapper before I was a singer.
Oh, okay.
My brother was always the singer, so when we would come up, we would do all the local talent shows in the area. He would always sing, I would always rap. We always had great shows, but he got all the ladies. So I'm like, wait a minute, I got this singing, rapping thing mixed up. Let me switch this up a little bit. And so I just started doing the singing thing, and then next thing you know, we just kept it moving in that direction. I still spit a little fire from time to time, but
Did you ever in any of the any of your songs you had, were you ever rapping on those, or were they always? Oh,
All the
really?
time.
Okay.
All the time. So I was doing that back in the day before it was like super popular, singing and rapping. So I would always, instead of bringing a rapper in, I would always do the features in any of our songs. So I rapped all on the first album until we got a little more grown up, and it was like, all right, man, cool out with the rap. You want to do the rap, you're gonna do your own thing. So,
Right. Okay.
It's all good.
So I should spit something real quick.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah, before you.
I mean, Tyra on the track. Listen, Tyra, like we're all putting you out there. She sends us some motivational raps in our group.
She got some bars.
She hates us
Yeah, she
right
has some bars. We always say Tyra on the track. Like if we need an opening, Tyra on the track. So you guys had, what was it, a mixtape? Her and Rob had a mixtape in high school.
I see you, Tyra.
Listen, see?
Sleeping on Tyra.
Let's get motivated.
Tyra B over here.
That's our theme song. Let's get motivated. So, like, did you come from like a musically inclined family? Like, were just you and your brother singers?
My mother, and she had one sister and 6 brothers. They were a group back in the day called the Coopers, and that was, of course, my mom's last name. But they were signed to Delphi Records back in the early Motown days, late 60s. So we would get together on holidays, all family, and it would be like a concert. So everybody would be singing. I wasn't the normal grow up in church singing, but I would be at a family function, and you would think you were at a concert because the harmony would be amazing, and it would just be, a bunch of singers in the family. So we just kind of adapted that.
That'd be
show.
Were there any
Yeah.
celebs at the
Functions.
get-togethers? Was there anybody that you were like you looked up to?
I mean, my one of my uncles was extremely talented and probably could have did the solo thing. But dysfunction back in those days was running rampant, and I can just keep it 100. But he was a phenomenal vocalist, and he just, he always said to us, listen, if you guys get the opportunity to do it and do it well where you can actually make money, you guys will be great. So just follow your path. And so he was somebody I kind of looked up to, and now, he's deceased, but he had a chance to see us go number one when we first went number one, with Something's Going On. So it was like a monumental moment for him, for sure.
That's awesome.
That's cool. So what was it like touring and all of that?
Well, I mean, touring is crazy. I mean, you got to think the first opportunity that we really had touring was with Madonna. So you can imagine we are...
Talk about pressure. No pressure.
Right. No pressure.
No pressure, but talk about pressure.
Let me tell you,
Yeah.
the first show we did Wembley Stadium with her in London. We go out for the first time for sound check, and there's already 100,000 people in the audience.
Wow.
So you can imagine 4 guys from Lansing, Michigan, living in Detroit, but at the time looking at this whole crowd out here like, oh my God. We go backstage, and for the first time, it's like a whole production. But who's coming through the backstage wants to see the show? We get a chance to meet Michael Jackson. So,
Oh, wow.
phenomenal,
That's iconic.
cool.
craziness. Yeah, so iconic to say the least. One of the guys in the group was so nervous. He drank so much that we actually I had to sing some of his parts, like the real Five Heartbeat, sing some of his parts to keep him on key. So it was one of those things. But the touring thing is amazing. I've probably met, I guess I come from the 90s era, so to speak, but I've probably
The
met
best.
everybody that's anybody in the business. We've worked with everybody from David Foster, who did the Bodyguard soundtrack for Whitney Houston, Brian McKnight, Eric Clapton.
Wow.
A little bit of everybody.
Yeah.
R. Kelly, like I mentioned. And I don't care what people say. They can say what they want. R. Kelly is a talented man.
Oh,
Now,
yeah,
his
he's definitely
afterlife is a
talented.
little suspect, but his
Yeah.
musical genius, is
genius.
not to be, So a little bit of everybody. I mean, we tour. Think about it. From the '90s, Silk, Intro, Jodeci, Boyz II
The
Men.
90s had the
I was
best.
just
The
like,
90s
thinking
was
about
the
that,
best
like,
music.
Every
You know.
single time these groups come back together, and I want to ask you about that with UNV, but every single time these groups come back together, I will say to Will, like, we are going to these concerts. Because
Yeah,
number
yeah.
one, you never know when that's going to happen again.
Yeah.
But number two, just to take us back to the 90s and, like,
90s was the
listen to
best
that
music.
was, like, the best music. So where is the status of UNV now? Can we do a reunion kind of-
Unfortunately, I tried to put the group back together a couple of years ago, and of course we're grown up now, and I was really the only one that stayed in the business,
Oh, really?
so to speak, after we dismantled back in '98. So I was the only one that really stayed in the music business. A couple other members dibbled and dabbled, but nobody really took it serious and kind of moved on from there. So I tried to put it back together about 4 years ago. We actually did a couple singles, did a couple videos, but one thing about groups, it never fails. If you've seen Unsung, you always have a group, you always have one person who pretty much writes
doing everything.
and then everybody else kind of looks at them and says, well, why is your check bigger than mine? And and you get conflict. And fortunately, we went through that because that person was me. I was the writer. I wrote Something's Going On. I wrote 90% of the first album, 90% of the second album. So when royalty comes around,
Yeah.
sometimes people don't understand. Well, wait a minute. I got 50,000 over here. Why do you have 250,000?
Right.
So I still love them to death. They're my brothers to the end. But it's just me.
Yeah.
That's what we were just talking about, Tyra.
We were just talking about
We were just
that.
talking about how there were so many groups, and now everybody's just, like their single self.
Yeah.
Like Destiny's Child, like Beyonce went and did her own thing, and I feel like there was conflict between that group too when they split up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, major conflict.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's about how you set yourself up business-wise to be successful long after the music.
Right.
And that's the key. You can sustain the music only for so long. And, some people are fortunate enough to have, umpteen hits, but a lot of artists and a lot of groups from those 90s groups, you see a lot of those guys today, and I still see them on reunion tours, and we do stuff like I got a show Sunday at Michigan State in Lansing with the Rude Boys, written all over your face. Dave Tolliver and the Men at Large. You know,
I remember.
Yeah. So myself, and so we're going. You know, you still run into those guys, but a lot of those groups, you see them today, and they don't really have no money. They were in bad deals. And, you know, so it's unfortunate.
Give yourself a little bit of a little shout out right now. Just we talked about it before we went on the air. What was airing tonight at 7:20?
7:20 tonight on BET and VH1 Soul. They premiered my new single, which is called "Help Me." It's Mental Health Month. So the song is very based around mental health. It's like an interjection of almost, I'm sneaking a little gospel into an R&B world, put it like that. Some people will hear the song and some person might say it's about their spouse, but somebody might hear the song and think that I'm talking about God. So I leave it up to the interpretation for who's ever listening and let them do what they do. So the video premiered tonight. We're excited. Came out on Vivo and all the other platforms. We're, you know, over pushing 20,000 views in the last few days. So we're really excited.
That's great.
You know, for what's going on the charts. You know, as of this week. You know, so we're doing some things, trying to make it happen.
That's
things.
cool.
Those are pretty big things.
Yeah. So tell us about the music industry.
Right.
Oh Lord, we don't have that much time.
What was that like? And I know it's different now from in the 90s, or can you?
Is it really though, or is it?
Or do you think so?
The bottom line is this: the music business, the music is not about. How do I put this?
And it's the
music,
realest
it's,
people.
It's not music business; it's business music. And so what happens is artists and folks get engulfed in trying to get a deal. They want to be successful. And what happens is they do that selling their soul to the point of not knowing how to read a contract, not knowing how to understand what publishing is, not knowing what points are on a contract, and then what you'll see long term is if you're going out on the road. And see, nowadays, music business is so much different. They have these 70-30 deals where the industry, the label will take 70% and then take 30% of your money and even your tour money. When back in the day, touring is how you made your money.
Yeah.
Because fortunately for us, we were in a deal and I was a writer, so I still see those residuals, publishing checks. But
great.
A lot of groups didn't have that.
Yeah.
You know, I could tell you some stories, trust me when I tell you, but a lot of groups just didn't, their business was, man, I mean, I was young too at a time too. You got to think, I came in, when we were number one, I was 22 years old.
Wow.
You know, so.
So where did that business sense come from? Did you have to learn the hard way, or did it just, was it something that you had already had instilled in you?
I learned some the hard way, of course, because you got to learn trial and error, but I had a really good mentor in my life. Freddie the Man, which was Madonna's manager, took a really liking to me in the beginning. When the group would come out and do things, and a lot of times the group would be off doing whatever we were doing, because at the peak of our career, I would be almost an intern at the label. I would go and sit in meetings. I would go and listen, and I would go and just sit in the back of the room and just absorb what was happening, so I could get a clear understanding of what the business portion was like. So I knew at some point, and he would always say to me, listen, this stuff is not promised. You won't be around forever, and so save your money and make sure you're getting yourself into some things that will ultimately keep you shining long after UNV is gone and just a thing of the past. So I did that and stayed in those rooms and did what I had to do. And sometimes, you know, when we had sessions and they would set up recordings for the album, I might be the only one going to those meetings. But because everybody, and you know, don't get me wrong, you can get caught up in this game of doing what you do. I mean, the entertainment business is just that, the entertainment business. And it's meant to cater to artists where they'll, I won't say poison you, but they'll give you all the negative things that you can hang yourself with if you're not careful.
Yeah.
You know, I was the one, I never drank, never smoked. I was the one that was, you know, like I said, just kind of off into doing my own thing. So sometimes that gets pigeonholed and he think he all that.
Misconstrued.
You know, he think he arrogant or whatever. No, I'm just sitting back, playing my position,
Right.
doing what I'm gonna do. So long after this is over, I can still have the big house. I can still drive what I want to drive. I can still have money in the bank. I can still raise a family on music money 20 years later.
Yeah.
You know? So that's the thing.
That's cool. That's good. Yeah.
So speaking of family, your beautiful wife and children, do you have six?
I have six
Children.
6 beautiful children. They're not children anymore. My youngest, I have a couple sets of twins, so I have two
you
sets
do?
of twins.
Wow. Okay.
18 and 22, and then I have a 24 and a 23-year-old. So all back
sets
to
of
back,
twins?
2 sets of twins.
How was that reaction?
Crazy. Let's just put it like that.
The twins?
God knew what he was doing because my wife is amazing, and
That's
I give her all the credit.
Yeah.
She had 2
in
sets
that.
of twins back to back.
Yeah, so
That
it was.
is-
It's
You
one of
have
those
to
things.
say that she's amazing at that point.
No question. My wife. Not only is she amazing,
Yeah.
my wife gave me a kidney. So let me.
She did?
Brief story.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
So brief story. I knew that would be an intelligent topic.
Yeah.
But listen, she about 5 years ago, after a prior surgery that I had, that put some unnecessary pressure on my kidney, I developed what they call stage 4 chronic kidney disease. In that situation, I went a few years with them saying, all right, well, you're going to need a kidney or you're going to be on dialysis.
Oh, wow.
So long story short, to bring it in quickly, 1 out of 1,000 chances that my wife is a match. We go in and find out she's a match.
Wow.
My
That was a
wife-
celebration in the household that
Oh, my
night.
goodness,
Oh
come
my
on now.
gosh.
So my wife literally saved my life.
Yeah.
You know, when I say, you know, people say, oh, my wife saved my life, it ain't hurt. No, she literally saved my life.
That's
So,
amazing.
Yeah, so that was, you know.
How did she handle though, even you being on tour and the music and all,
Yeah,
and,
how was
and
that?
being a mom and a kid and a wife of, you know, you, like I'm saying you like with the utmost respect of being
Yeah.
who you are, like
Superstar.
Man, I think, you
how
know,
did she?
my wife is extremely grounded. And, you know, this is, I can just put it out there, this is my second wife. So my first wife went through the JPoww that wasn't the best JPoww.
Okay.
The JPoww that hadn't found God yet. The
Gotcha.
JPoww that hadn't come into his mature self. And so she got that portion. My wife got the more settled, mature, you know, knowing that it's you and all about you, and I'll never give you a reason to think there's anybody else. I'll no matter what I'm doing and where I am in the country, it's all about you. So I've given her the, I guess you'd say the confidence and the never having to realize security that she'd never have to worry about anything. And she's just not an insecure person. She's always been supportive. She's basically almost like my manager.
I was gonna ask, does she work with you
one,
at all?
Yeah, she's the one who coordinates all my flight arrangements. She handles, of course, when the check comes, wire the check to me. You know,
Did you hear that? Did you
know,
hear that? I'm pretty sure you heard that.
She's basically, you know, when I say literally my better half, she's the one who kind of handles all my administrative things. She, you know, put together my website. She's extremely intelligent. She's an executive for Blue Care Network, so she's been doing that for 17 years. But she's an amazing
Shout
woman.
out to her.
Yeah,
I
for
know.
sure. For sure.
Does she sing at all? Or do your kids sing at all?
You know, all my kids sing or rap.
Okay.
My wife doesn't sing, not one iota, and she'll say that. She shower sings, but other than that, but all my kids sing. I just made a post on Facebook the other day. I sing actively in my church, and my kids in the interim growing up were all members of the praise team, so they have that same gene that the Coopers had in the harmony. And they can really. None of them decided to go forward with it completely, but they all sing. They all sing.
Okay. So they didn't think about get or want to be in the music
No, you know what?
industry?
And I didn't want to push it.
Yeah.
You know, I already, you know, kind of. I won't say I pushed them into the church, but I wanted them to, you know, have that kind of upbringing. But I didn't want to push them into the music if they didn't want to go. Now I do have a son now who's 18, and he wants to rap. Young Christopher, so he is pursuing that, and I'm helping him, trying to set some things up. But you know, this younger generation, woo,
It's a whole
Things
different
are
ballgame.
different.
Huh?
So
oh my
different.
goodness,
People are blowing up on TikTok. They're becoming
Absolutely.
rappers
It's
on
not even the
YouTube.
same.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's way different.
How do you feel about that? How
Yeah.
things have changed with social media and as far as like the music industry?
I mean, the music industry is still the music industry, but the biggest thing is there's just no genuine, because they're not making artists anymore. Back in the day when we came out, they had artist development. They were trying to make an artist. Nowadays, the industry is set up to make singles. Get one popular guy. You got a popular single? Okay, we'll sign you to a one-option deal. You'll get a popular single. You might sell $1 million, but if you got a 70-30 deal, they make the lion's share of that money. You get a few coins and a big couple chains, and you think you're winning, and you're really not. Now
So explain that really quick. So they're only signing artists to. So basically, it would be like one single, whatever
Make a
the
quick
single
buck.
comes out, like make a quick buck, and then
some of them.
are
Now,
you
don't get me
thrown out
wrong,
to the
there-
wolves?
If your single performs well enough, of course they'll do an album.
Okay.
But that's also, you got to think of how the artist is thinking. See, nowadays these young folks are so I know everything, that they won't take direction from someone who can really give them some solid advice.
Right.
You know, people ask me all the time, "Hey man, will you manage me? You know, will you do X, Y, and Z?" And I have to be really selective on how I deal with other artists because, you know, just the mindset of the entertainment business today is just not the same as it
totally
was.
different, yeah.
And so you just got to be, you know, careful to try and groom the folks the best you can. But
Yeah, and I think it's because they just have everything at their hands right now. It's like back in the day.
see, we ain't
used-
had that, right?
We didn't have that.
We had
We had to
street
look up
teams.
stuff in the dictionary.
Yeah.
The
Encyclopedia.
Wait, did you guys watch the?
That's
She didn't know what
that's
that
a
was.
joke from the last
No,
one. She
I
didn't
didn't
know
know
what
the
the Encyclopedia Britannica
Britannica.
was.
Did you guys watch Whitney Houston's story on Netflix? Did you
Yes.
guys watch that?
I did.
About how
I
they brought
didn't,
Whitney
but
Houston up.
I meant to watch it, so
It's
I didn't.
so good.
So what did you think about that? What do you think about when documentaries are brought out? Because you knew the writer of the Bodyguard. Producer, was it the writer?
David Foster.
So and there was a lot of the Bodyguard in this
Absolutely.
documentary. So how do you feel when documentaries come out? Do you look at them if you know the person, you're like, didn't really happen that way, or
Yeah, because, you know, documentaries, it depends on who's telling the story. You know, like you saw on the New Edition story, that series they went over.
I love
Right.
that.
Now, that series, they actually sat in and put that together themselves. So you got the real story. Now, trust me, some of that stuff was left out. But it just depends on who's telling the story,
Yeah.
how genuine you get. I mean, most of them for the most part. But you got to think, even Whitney Houston, there's been a few different versions of her movie.
has,
That is
yeah.
very
Of
true.
her life, you know, in the beginning, all we thought was Bobby is this bad influence. But
Yeah.
come to find out, it wasn't Bobby
It
at all.
wasn't
It was
Bobby.
Whitney.
Yeah.
You know, so you just never know. You know, it just depends on who's telling the story. Like we have an unsung coming, UNV.
all right, look at
What
he's
is
so
that?
excited.
Yeah.
Will Page just got so excited over there. He's
And I love Unsung. Well,
I
I,
love
used to watch
Unsung.
it all the time.
And I will
haven't
say,
saw it in a while.
the Janet Jackson's in town tonight, and you know that's amazing. But her documentary that she put out was, I'm so happy that she was the one.
I didn't see that.
Comment.
either.
You didn't see that one? It is so
I don't
good.
watch TV, but
It's well, I don't.
That's
was it on
probably why.
Prime? I don't remember what it was, but it was such
Yeah,
an
start back.
amazing documentary because she was the one who did the entire, like from beginning to end.
Yeah,
It was
she
all-
walked that all the way
She
through.
walked that all the way through.
I gotta check that out.
It was
Yeah.
it was really, and I have a respect for that because that's putting the vulnerability
Yeah.
back on yourselves of being able to tell the story. Because
How's it with Unsung? Do they let you have any input in that?
Well, here's the deal. What we're doing is an unsung story, and I'm finessing it into a book myself.
Okay.
So.
Business mind.
Absolutely. Always looking for the next venture.
Always the next.
So it was one of those things where, you know, you have to get 4 different versions from 4 different people and then condense that into what the real story is.
Okay.
So you got to think, if the other 4 were here and I said what I said earlier, you know, they'd probably be like,
right.
but in essence, they'd be like, it's true, but, you know, did you have to say that? I mean, you know, it's 30 years later. Come on, if we haven't learned anything from that, then we
Right.
know. And they're all extremely supportive now. Like, you know, they see my stuff or the single. Like, my guy was texting me, one of the guys from the group was texting me, man, I saw the video tonight, you know, good stuff, da 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 da. So it's always cool to get that kind of feel from everybody and to kind of get that story out and get it out genuinely. And that's the key. That's what we're trying to do is make sure that the book tells the real story.
That's
You know,
cool.
100%.
So are you writing the book or is it a collaborative?
My wife, who has a master's in journalism, is actually writing the book.
Oh.
And I'm taking excerpts from basically the group just sends me, we're doing it, the audio version.
Okay.
And then she condenses it into the written form to bring the book alive. You know, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm going to write. I could write the book. You know, I'd be lying.
You
if I
write
did.
songs. Why can't you?
I write songs,
I
but I don't
mean,
think I have the patience
to write a book.
to write a complete book. You know, I'll just put it in, you know, audio form and then let her dissect it and do what she does. You know.
Yeah.
Peanut Gallery asked a question real quick.
Yes, please.
I think it would be really good for you to talk about or give your insight as to what do you think is the secret sauce for groups who actually stay together? Or if you could speak back to you guys as younger people, what would you, because I think that crosses over a lot of different industries. Like if you're starting out and you're with a team or your boys or whatever, it's like they always fall apart.
Absolutely.
For a lot of different reasons. So what would you say in the good times held you together, and then what do you wish you may have done or could have done different that would have kept you guys together?
Excellent question. Excellent question. I think the secret sauce, without giving the secret, so to speak, is it's about the education of the business portion. Because see, if you have somebody, if it's 4 of you and only one of you is soaking up the business and the rest of them are kicking it, partying, or doing whatever the case may be, and they never get the full spectrum of what it takes to grow and continue to grow along either in music or after music, then that's where you get the dissension. You get people who, the main reason groups fail is the first thing I said. It's one person does all the work, everybody else doesn't get the same money, or one person is the most talented and then they go on to do something by themselves. But nowadays, and generally, it doesn't even make a difference how much talented you are. It's about how much you're able to really keep the business portion on lock. And so if I was looking at it back in the day, now I would say, hey guys, instead of going to that club tonight, let's do the label meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m. So everybody be up. Don't go out and hang out all night so that you don't want to get up to go do the interview, or you don't want to get up to go do, that meeting so that you can get that information. It was like going to college for me when it came to learning the publishing portion, learning how that breaks down. Because if you don't know that, and that royalty check comes around, and you're somebody, don't get me wrong, I'm 21 years old getting my first royalty check of $250,000, and I've never seen a dime. I'd never had more than $500 that I made at a regular job before I was doing this. So when you get that kind of money, if you don't have anybody to help separate, you doing what you're doing, you make mistakes.
Right.
I ain't gonna lie. I took that
For
first
sure.
$250,000. I remember this like it was yesterday. I went to the Lexus dealership in Southfield. Remember that Lexus dealership?
Yeah.
I think it might still be there.
Yeah.
I went
On
there.
Telegraph.
I went in.
Something.
I'm in shorts. I'm in tennis shoes with a duffel bag. I said, nobody would help me. Everybody walked by me. I said, listen, man, I want this car. It was a Lexus 450. I remember Biggie saying, Lexus LX 4.5. So I wanted that truck. I wanted that truck more than anything. So I went there with a bag of about $75,000 cash.
Straight cash?
Wow.
Straight cash.
You could do that back in the day.
Yeah, you can do that now.
Right. So I went there. I mean, nobody knew it. That's why nobody was helping me. But finally, a little guy comes behind and goes, hey man, can I help you? I said, yes. I want this truck. He said, well, how do you want to do it? You have some financing?
You're like, nope.
I said, nope. I don't want to do no financing. Yep. I said, I don't want to do no financing.
Drop
Boom.
the bag.
I dropped the bag. And then he was like, oh, no problem. Okay. And then all those people who didn't help me was all like, hey, what can I do? No,
Right.
you good. Have a seat. I got
Right.
it. My man got me. And I bought the truck. But that was a mistake. When I think back on it.
For sure.
I went and spent $75,000. I could have took that same $75,000, which I did 15 years later, and went and bought 4 rental properties. That kind of thing, So you don't learn that in the beginning if nobody's really helping you
Yeah.
along.
Right.
And so if I could look back on the old group, I would say, hey man, let's do this a little different. Let's structure this a little different. Instead of taking that $10,000 a night that we're getting to do shows, let's take a $3,000 salary and put the rest away to do it. And then let's put X amount in a little fund for all of us that we can use to invest in doing what we're doing in the long term. And then whether we're doing music or not, we're still successful enough and have enough money to keep doing what we're doing. Because that's basically what I did. I just basically said, okay, I need to put a little away here, put a little away there, do what we got to do. And then, when you look back on it, you say, hey man, some groups make it still, and some well, what happened to that guy? I mean, I see him out now. So people see me, it's not, I'm not bragging, but I'm blessed. People see me and they say, well, hey, he must be doing something still. Not knowing that it's not really music, honestly. I turned that music you get into some real estate, you get into some investing, you flipped it, you start a company, because I just was the type that never really wanted to work for somebody, even though I did for a little while, I took some positions long after the music. I was, I worked for Quicken Loans, I can probably say that, whatever. They're probably happy for the shout. I worked for Quicken Loans. When I started my record company, Power Moves, because every company I own has power in it. So when I started my company, Power Moves Records, my initial first investor was Dan Gilbert.
Oh, wow.
Dan Gilbert and Lindsey Gross, who were the essential major partners of rock back in the day. Rock Financial.
So how did that come about?
Yeah,
how did that come
happen?
full circle for them to be your investors?
So, all right, just like I told you, I started, all right, I'm thinking, all right, what can I do? Because now the music money's starting to slow down. Okay, so now I'm not making the money that I was making, and now I'm not touring like I was touring. So I need to figure out what I'm going to do, because I can't be out here broke, or whatever the case may be. So a friend of mine, Alan Ross, I'll never forget this. He worked for a company called Birmingham Bancorp. It's no longer existent, but at the time, they were the largest FHA mortgage company in Michigan. 14 Mile in Orchard Lake. I went in and I was doing, because I can talk, I was doing telemarketing. I was doing some telemarketing for this mortgage company. I said, man, listen, this ain't no money. Let me tell you something. If you give me a shot to be a loan officer, I'll make $100,000 first year. And I didn't even really know if I could do it, but I was like, if you give me a shot, I'll make it happen. Whatever. My man gave me a shot. I was the first African American in a company that was 99.9% all Caucasian. But they gave me a shot. I spent 6 years in the mortgage business there with them, doing FHA lending, learned the game like it was the game. And then from there, the owner of that company knew I was still a musician, because I was still doing things. And he said, man, I was telling him, I'm about to start a record company, man. I'm thinking. And I asked him, I said, would you be interested in possibly investing, doing something? You know, I can put together a plan for you to show you, you know, what your residuals will be long term, and et cetera, et cetera. He's like, it's not really my cup of tea, but let me turn you on to somebody that might be somebody that you can, I can get you with. I said, okay. And he introduced me to Lindsey Gross. Lindsey Gross was, at the time, the vice president of Rock Financial. So it's one of those things like, all right, you got to go sell it. You got to go out here and make it happen. So I went with my little briefcase, I put the suit on, did what you had to do, you know, and I sat him down and I sold him on the dream. And he said, all right, well, I'll take a look. And he said, all right, I'll give you about 200. I said, 200, okay. I'm thinking in my mind, get what it on? 200. Because, you know, I think that was
a lot of money. Yeah, a lot of money back
then. That's 97, you know, for me. You know, and still, you know, after you've done the music and now you're working, so to speak, you're like, all right, this is my chance back in the game.
Right.
Doing what I got to do. So he gave me my first 200, and then I did a big showcase out in West Bloomfield. Dan came to the showcase. And I had a bunch of, remember, Andy Jacobs, all those guys from back in the day.
Remember he had the commercials and stuff?
Andy Jacobs was the, remember Worldwide Financial?
Okay,
they got indicted and all that other crazy.
Okay, now I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, so there's a bunch of people there. We put on a great showcase. I had like 6 acts. And then Dan was like, yo, what do you need? And I'm thinking like, okay, you know what? That's a trick question,
right?
You know, whatever the case may be. And my lawyer was there.
What are you gonna give?
Yeah, so he was like, I can't tell you the number, but he was like, whatever you need. And he had a guy with him. He said, oh, this number? That's what you need? Write him the check.
Just like that?
On the spot?
On the spot?
On the spot. Let's just say it was
a very nice number.
More than $1 million. Put it like that.
On the spot, wrote the check and said, here.
More than $1 million.
Go.
Wow.
Start your thing, do your thing. I mean, of course, the lawyer structured everything.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
What it was. But he was like, all right, you're good. I believe in it. I like it. It's fun. You know, he had more money than he can do it. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning of Power Moves Records.
That's cool.
You know, going on like 18 years.
So do you, so the song that just came out with the video tonight, is that
on my label,
all yours?
On my label. If you see the Billboard chart right now, I'm number 74 after coming on last week at like 135. We're 74 this week with a bullet. It says, John Poww, help me, Power Moves Records.
That's
you got that.
That's amazing.
You got that $1 million. What was your next move after you got that $1 million?
Well, we took some time to try to see what's the best act we could put out.
There's no Lexus.
It was definitely then it becomes the house, and then you start to make some moves that you know they're going to be long term.
Right.
But no, we put out my brother and I, as a duo, we were UNV, the Poww brothers, because I wanted to make sure that still had something with a namesake that we could use that. We ended up selling about 120,000 units. And you got to think back then, 120,000 units independently at $8 a record, you did pretty well.
That's good.
So we were able to basically almost pay back all of our investors in the initial to make our money back. So it was like, okay, we can do what we do. And now we started releasing, I released a group called Jay and the Fat Man, which was me and a childhood friend of mine. We did a record that was on Indie when Indie Distribution was Indie Distribution, the same label that Montreal Jordan came out on when he did This Is How We Do It. We had the same manager, Paul Stewart, or whatever the case may be. We put out Keep It Coming as a rap duo. We were the first Michigan act to ever make it to Yo MTV Raps. Most people don't know that, but that's a fact.
Wow.
You can Google that on YouTube. It's on YouTube. Jay and the Fat Man. And back in what's his name? Fast Freddy. Hip Yo MTV Raps. Fast Freddy.
Yeah.
Whatever, him. Introduced us, blah, blah, blah. We ended up selling about 80,000 units, doing what we got to do. And then Uptown, if you remember Heavy D, Rest His Soul, took our song.
He took your song?
Took our song, literally. And if you Google it when I'm gone.
How did that work out?
Well, I'll tell you. The producer of the song, of his song, heard our producer at this time.
Did P. Diddy have anything to do with that?
No, this was Andre Harrell. This was Heavy D, Uptown. This is Uptown. Right. So, long story short, his producer heard our record, figured they're independent. We're Uptown. We got all this money. They're not going to really, make it. He took the song, and if you hear the song was called "Keep It Coming," and it was the old Gap Band sample, whatever. Keep running.
Okay.
So he took the song, they put it out. It mirrored basically my hook completely. It sounds just like almost identical, except he rapped different, of course.
Okay.
So we got an injunction, sued, settled out of court with Uptown.
I was gonna say, like, that sounds like a lawsuit to me. Like,
and I know they do that a lot.
I was gonna say, Whitney Houston did.
Yeah, for us, they figured out, we'll pay these guys off.
Yeah, just pay them
I'm like,
off.
all right, cool. That's a nice little.
And then
I'll take that investment.
You're like, I'll take it.
Yep, we sure did. Took that money and ran. That was my first 2 houses.
That's some tea right there.
It made me think about Soldier when he was doing that interview at the Breakfast Club. He was like, kissing me through the phone. That's Soldier.
Oh.
But that's how that works,
That's
man.
how that. So is this? So that's like a normal thing. Like, is this something that happens a lot?
I think you get a lot of people, especially nowadays, artists. If you notice, all they doing is sampling all them '90s songs.
Yes.
Right.
I'm hoping somebody will sample mine.
Many.
Can y'all take mine? Can somebody sample mine?
Listen, we're putting it out right now into existence. So, but we were willing to talk about that, about how many '90s songs are really coming back and becoming classics again.
That's what it is. A lot of. You got to think. I might be a little biased, but I believe that other than some of those early Motown, the '90s was the best era.
The '90s was the best,
R&B music.
especially for R&B.
Yeah, all these R&B groups.
Yeah.
And it's so bad. It's such a shame that all those had to just fade away because you went from '90s R&B groups and then you went to pop groups,
2000, the pop
Backstreets and all your different things, and so that kind of faded them out. But at the end of the day, that music genre will forever live.
For sure.
As one of
Like
the
the love
every
songs, like you don't get songs like that no more.
Every time they come back in concert, I'm like, we are there because it's you never know when you're gonna have the opportunity to see them again.
Exactly.
So I know some of them. Some of these songs that you're saying are a little familiar.
They're registered.
We'll have to do like a little quiz. So what would you? So as somebody that was looking to get into the music industry, what advice would you give to them?
Well, nowadays, like you mentioned earlier, there's so many different ways to break into the industry because there's the internet.
Yeah.
The internet is the key. You almost don't even have to have a deal because most labels are now just big banks just funding artists doing what they're doing. The artists, they want you to make the noise first.
Right.
They want you to get your likes up, your Google Analytics and everything.
They look at
up.
your followers.
Right, your followers, your likes, and all your analytics to see where you are. And I would just say, from an independent standpoint, build your foundation of building your story amongst your peers on your own. And if you can bring enough to the table on your own, doing what you're doing, whether you're doing shows, whether you're releasing music on the internet, doing it over and over, whether you have some online platforms that you're releasing music to, do that as much as you can to bring the noise so you at least have some leverage when you're getting a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody can offer you some real money. You know, I mean, Drake is a classic example. Drake did all the things that he did with Cash Money before Cash Money was Cash Money. But what people don't realize is Drake didn't have a set artist deal with Cash Money. He was doing those things kind of like a contracted basis. So when he got a deal from Universal, he was able to come in and say, I want to keep all my masters. I want to do everything that I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. Set up my certain amount of deals and the options that I'm doing. And then like as of 3 years, he's out of that deal with Cash Money. Now it's his own
standards.
thing. Right.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I would tell young people. You gotta be a student of the business. It's not so much as just trying to run around and be an artist. You gotta.
So what was your strategy as far as marketing or whatever that you did to sell those records that you sold?
Independently or
Independently when you did that?
Well,
I know you're doing it now still, but
no question.
Yeah.
It really boils down to being able to just market and keep reinventing yourself with some consistency. You know, that's the key in this game. You have to be consistent enough to be able to have enough of a catalog of music that you can continue to keep doing it. And so, I mean, bottom line is this game is about money. And I'll be very honest. There's a lot of artists that are extremely talented. They just don't have any money.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have any money, unfortunately, that's really the thing that most people die under because they don't have the money to back it or whatever.
But I hear what you're saying, but in the opposite end of it, you don't have the money, but you have the tools.
You do.
And that's what's crazy about the industry that we're in right now, or the way the world is right now, is you might not have the money, but you have every single possible free platform to make yourself known.
But,
so how does that change the game, though?
But the tools still require money.
That's
So
true.
you gotta
Okay.
think,
To get to
let's
where
say you
you're
got
trying
the
to get.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Let's say you got the TikTok things and you happen to find one thing that goes viral or whatever the case may be. Or if you're on Facebook and you're on Instagram and you're doing these things, it still takes advertising money to take an Instagram post from 100,000 to 1 million.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and so some luck up and they get that viral
That
video,
one
that one
viral.
that works or whatever. But most time that label is looking for that one song that you did that got you that million. So they'll give you a spin-off deal to see how that works. If it works, great, we'll give you more. If not, you just were a one-hit wonder and you just had that one song.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so many of that now, like those one hit.
It is because they don't break
so
artists. They don't put the time into taking an artist and really making an artist. You talk about Janet Jackson. She was bred from the start. She was bred to be Janet Jackson from the beginning. You know, and so many artists nowadays.
Beyonce was the same way.
Beyonce, same way.
Same exact way. From
And
the
that
beginning to now.
discipline.
Yeah.
They had that discipline too.
Mommy
in
and
the
daddy was
beginning.
like,
Yeah.
listen, this is a gold mine at the end of this.
Exactly.
Trust me, I thought about that with my own, but you can't push it. You know, I didn't want to push it on them. You know,
And
Give
it's
them the
that,
opportunity.
like you said earlier, that education is missing.
Yeah.
That's what I preach too, and what I do is like education is missing in our community. Like this is what you guys need, so that's what they're not getting right now in the music industry.
They're
too.
not getting it, and it's really designed that way. To be totally honest with you, and so we need more mentors, more women mentors to help educate some of these younger folks in that regard that will at least listen, because it's designed like that.
Yeah.
It's designed to have you as stupid as you can possibly be, so that even if you're talented, I'm gonna milk you for what I can milk you out, and when I'm done with you, I'm gonna kick you away.
Right.
Thank you, but you won't know any better. So
That's for sure.
So, like, your music career is unbelievable, and it's still growing and ever more. But I want to know, how did you get into the Poww customs? Like, how did that? Has that always been something that has?
No. It's
Where
crazy.
did that come from?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Just first
it's crazy.
explain to everyone, like, what is Poww Customs? Just
Poww
for those who
Customs.
don't know.
Poww Customs is a company I started about 4 years ago. You've seen all over the streets, you see the Can-Am slingshot. You see the people riding around in these little three-wheel bikes, and they got all the lights and stuff on them. So me, like everybody else, I told my wife I wanted a motorcycle, and she's like, "No, you're not doing the motorcycle. You had one before. You almost hit a deer. That's done. None of that. It's
We
not
know
happening."
all about that. in
So
this
she said, "Don't
household.
come."
Sounds
She
like
said,
me
"Don't
too.
come home with 2 wheels. I don't want to see it." So I came home with 3 wheels.
Oh, okay.
So I bought a Can-Am Riker, which was a Riker, which is one of the 3-wheel bikes. And so I'm like, okay, if I'm not doing the Harley and I can't customize, I'm going to customize this bike the way I want to. So I did it, and I had a seat made just on a whim. And so people start asking me, hey man, where'd you get that seat? Where'd you get that seat? Where'd you get that? And me, ding, ding, ding,
Business
light
mind.
bulb went off like, hold up. I could probably get a couple seamstress and see if I could start. So what started with 3 or 4 seats a week, messing around, ended up being 200 seats a month at $200 a pop.
Wow.
We're all like, wow.
Yeah.
So
And that's how you get
Handlebars or something.
Wow.
those ideas.
Yeah,
Those
so I mean,
ideas.
it doesn't
you gotta
stop,
clear your
does
mind.
it?
that's the thing.
That's
Most
why you gotta
people-
clear your mind.
You're right.
Most people
You're so
don't take the time to say they get an idea and they think, oh, that's just for somebody else to develop and make it happen. Listen, at the time I was working at Rocket, making 6 figures, doing great things, having a good life, whatever, doing my music kind of, sidebar, doing what I'm doing. The seat company I quit. Done deal. It's a wrap. Hey, wifey, listen. I've done this for about
I said,
a
how
year.
did that go over
I've done
at
it-
home?
No, I had to say, look, I'm going to do this. I've done this for the last year. I make probably about the same amount of money that I make at Rocket. You're a Blue Care executive. We don't need that. You've got the insurance on lock, so we good on that. So it's just one of those things. She's like, but that also comes into play when you have a supportive spouse.
Yes.
Absolutely.
My wife,
Yeah.
she trusted my entrepreneurship. She trusted that I'm a hustle and go make it happen. So she said, listen, do what you do. Just make it happen. You
Yeah.
got a year to make it happen. I took that year.
Made
One
it
year
happen.
went from one. Next thing, second year, third year, here come Can-Am. Can we buy you out?
Oh wow.
We'd like to buy you out. But by then I had already had the seat patent. I was already good. So I'm like, man, unless you come with that bag.
Yeah.
I'm all
not
set.
really. I'm good.
Listen, being married to an entrepreneur is not for the weak.
Oh, not
It
at
is
all.
not.
It
Like
takes a special.
it
different
does.
type of
It definitely
person.
does.
It does.
But what's also nice is because I came from corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
I'm married to an entrepreneur, and it is very different worlds.
Oh, yeah.
Very different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
But what was nice is when I started to trust the entrepreneur world.
Yeah.
And I started to get into it and I started to do it more. And it's still corporate America. You guys know, they laugh at me because I'm so analytical. So there's that analytical part that still comes in all the time of overthinking. But it is definitely a different world.
For sure.
And it is not something that
For
unless
sure.
you're prepared or know anything about that world, being married into that world is not for the weak.
And don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, my wife, is extremely analytical. She's very meticulous when it comes to detail. Where I'm the free spirit, I got a pocket full of money. Baby, let's go to Mulan this weekend. We out.
LA.
Kind of
like,
sounds familiar.
She like, slow down. What do we have planned for the next 6 months? How are we doing this? Do we have this set up? Is this good? We got such and such.
That's
good.
my girl right
Tuition
there.
is coming. Are we good? So
a good balance,
Yeah, she
though.
balances me
Yeah.
out completely and totally. I mean, before we got married, shout out to David Ramsey. Everybody, I'm sure it's
Yes,
sure
we
Dave
did.
Ramsey.
Cash is king.
Before we got married, we did that course. We became
Yeah.
instructors and did all that whole 9. But it has served me so well over the years because in the
Really?
beginning,
Okay.
I ain't gonna lie, I was reckless. Woo! I used to spend money like water. I'd be the guy in the meetings with 2 different Rolexes on one on this wrist and just flamboyant,
Yeah,
just ridiculous. You learn quickly, but my wife has just balanced all that out. So now
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
just
we,
have
we
to-
took that class through our church as well, and it is,
amazing.
it's a struggle.
It is. I
because
hear a lot about
it's
it.
very
Same
real.
here.
There
It
is no sugarcoating. Like, you are literally just
Cash is
cash
king.
is king, and we say that in our household all the time. Cash is king.
But as a result, I have 1 major credit card. She has 1 major credit card.
Really?
Really?
That's it.
Nice.
That's it. We are everything. If we can't pay cash for it, we don't want it.
So you really are with David
I know
Ramsey.
some
What's
people,
his
it's like
name?
David
David
Ramsey.
Ramsey.
Yeah, that's what he preaches.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We don't have any credit cards.
No question
None.
about it. And the only ones we have, been blessed to. I always wanted a black card when I was
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
was young.
Well, go
When
ahead
I was
and
young-
say it. You
when I
have.
was young, I was
That's
like,
what you
and
have.
I got my first black card when I got with Dan and them with the company because I had a black card with $500,000 on it. I was like, I thought I was
yeah.
out of control, and I was, but I had to learn a lot in that lesson. But that's the only thing that we have. We keep 1 major credit card for both of us, and she keeps mine.
Oh, there you go.
She
Okay.
keeps, how we got 2 credit cards, but she keeps
Did
mine.
you hear that, Will Pay?
She keeps mine. She's like, look, run that. If I'm going out of town, she's like, leave a black card here.
Yeah.
You got no
Right.
allowance.
Right.
Leave it back out here. You good, you know.
Yeah.
So
But I'm
looking
glad.
at where your career is now and looking back to where you started, and Tyra usually asks this question, so
Go ahead.
like, would you tell your younger self anything different? Would you do anything different? Or do you go through what you go through to be who you are today?
You're absolutely right. I had some bumps, some severe things that happened over the transition of my life, and without those things, I don't think I'd be who I was. Fun fact that only very few know, that I think I just made public probably a year ago in an interview, is I wrote "Something's Going On" sitting on the cot of a jail cell.
Wow.
Not many people knew that
Wow.
until about a year ago. I made it public.
Yeah.
Making some stupid moves at 19, right before we got a deal. Living in Lansing, just struggling, trying to make it happen. Foolish, made a mistake. Luckily for me, I had a judge that saw potential in me and said, I'm not going to do what I could do to you, so sit your butt in county jail for about 40 days. Now
40
you think
days.
most of these thugs are like 40 days, but you ain't did nothing. 40 days for
Hey.
me.
That's a
I'd
long
ne-
time.
I'd
I'm
never-
sorry.
I'd never been in trouble. I'd never had anything as much as a ticket. So 40
Yeah,
days for
that's-
me. And I
yeah.
was on, she put me on work release. So I was on work release for 40 days. And then that time I got up I was out at 7:30 and had to be back at 6:30.
So wait, you had to go back to the jail?
I had to
Like,
go
you
back.
couldn't go home?
I
Like,
couldn't
you had
home.
to go...
Nope. I got out all day. I would drive from Lansing and come to the studio where the rest of the group was recording our first album. And I was sitting there, I would sit there, do what we had to do, and I had to be back by 6:30. If you didn't and you violated, you were done. So I made sure I was back. So one of those nights, because you got to think, I can act like I'm not even gonna act like I was tough. My first 2 weeks there, I'm sitting there shaking, and I'm in county, so but never having been to jail or nothing,
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
sitting in there like, and I saw so many people I knew. And they're like,
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's Lansing, come on, small or whatever. So everybody knew I sang. JPoww, what you doing in here? Whatever. Let me tell you funny. This is crazy funny. So we're in the bunks, and anybody knows about county jail, you're in that little dorm. You had the little window. And so they would be like, you're gonna be the jukebox for us at night. Sing that new R. Kelly.
What?
Sing that new Maxwell.
Did you get paid for it?
Cakes.
Did they at least give you
Cakes.
something?
You got cakes.
You got, like-
you
yeah,
got
like-
Little Debbie cakes. I didn't smoke.
They give you cakes?
They gave
me
you Debbie,
cakes.
little Debbie cakes.
So for my couple weeks I was in there, I was the cell jukebox.
Yeah.
So funny.
It's
My body,
funny.
and the
Did they have a
CEOs
volume
was
up?
cool.
Like, you're not singing loud enough.
No, it was just one of them things.
Yeah.
And so
That is
that
so
2 weeks,
funny.
I wrote the biggest record of my career, sitting on the bed.
Yep.
Thinking, Jesus, if you just get me out of this,
Yeah.
you will never worry about me doing anything.
So what
like
happened
this.
when you took the
Circle.
song back, though? Like,
I took the song
how
back.
was that presented?
We had gotten a call. I'm sure everybody here knows Mason. Mason at the time was managing us. He was managing you.
Oh, okay.
We
From the radio
From the radio
Yeah,
station.
was it 97.9?
97.9.
Mason in the morning.
Mason in
Mason
the
in the
morning.
morning,
Now he's
yeah.
on 105.9 Kids, but whatever.
Okay.
Mason
The
was
Pistons.
managing us. He saw us at his talent show, liked us, said, "Hey, I want to manage you guys." Blah, 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 blah.
I didn't know he was a manager.
He wasn't. We were the first
He
act.
said he
Oh,
wasn't.
We were the first act he'd ever managed.
Wow.
But he got a guy to listen to us, and he said, I like those songs, but give me something that's a hit. Give me that one. So come on, man. When you in your pain and you in your worst
Yeah.
moments, and plus the little chick I had at that time ended up cheating on me.
Oh, no.
Or whatever the case may
So
be.
that's where it came
So
from.
that's where it came from. If you think
That's
about
so
the
funny
lyrics,
because I was
right.
going to ask you if there could be one song out of
Oh, man.
everything that was
That was
that was
it.
related to something.
Okay.
I mean, as a
I was
writer,
like,
I write.
something's going on.
Exactly.
See?
Lately I've been thinking that you don't feel the same.
Okay. I
So
got
all
you.
that it plays
plays a part.
So I took
That's
the song back to the
crazy,
group.
yeah.
They were like, "Yo, we like that," and then they started adding little things here, adding little things there. Next thing you know, we had something going on. He came over. JC, who was in the group, could play. We played it for Mason. He's like, "That's a hit." We
That's a
recorded
hit.
it.
It was a hit.
2 weeks later,
For sure.
3 weeks
Boom.
later, it was on Detroit radio, the #1 most
Wow.
requested record.
And if you would have never went to jail,
Right.
That's
would
true.
that
There you
have
go.
happened?
Right.
I never
So-
had that chick.
So all the
Yeah.
things,
Right. That shit.
Right.
I mean,
so
we
it
got
all comes
all
back
comes
full
back.
circle.
Yeah.
It all comes back
Circle.
full circle.
Yeah,
You know,
for
so
sure.
those things shape you. You know.
Yeah.
And now I went on to mentor as a mentorship in drug programs with young guys who were selling drugs, who were convicted at a young age, but still had the opportunity to get out. You
Yeah.
know, so I had a chance to go in and do some of my ministry in prison. And going back in and go do that. So it was all reflecting moments that I wouldn't change for the, a couple of things I would change, but the majority of everything I wouldn't change.
It was all part of your process.
It was all part of my journey.
Yeah, part of your journey.
all part of the journey.
That's why we gotta trust.
Even the way we met.
Yeah.
Even the way we met. You remember how we met?
How did we meet? Was it barbershop?
No, the Romulus.
Yes.
What
I
was-
think that's when that was my second house I built in Romulus. And what were we doing though? What?
So we had community service.
That's it.
He said,
That orange
so we
vest.
had community service.
Vest, yes. That orange vest. I remember.
I wasn't going to talk about it, but I
No,
guess he wanted
it's all good.
to.
Like I told you, I'm
Okay,
an open
Will's
book.
gonna be
I know,
the
but
next
Will's
guest.
some
gonna
of
be
those
sure. I
things-
wasn't going to bring it up.
But some of those things, think about it. Think about community service to where we are now.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
And I was saying, that was a
Ain't
long
God
time
good?
ago.
Ain't God good? I mean, think
It
about
is,
it.
yeah, for sure. That was
Some people,
2009.
we picking up trash on the freeway.
Can I tell you though, because that was like right when we met, and I literally came home and talked about you. Like there was something with your meeting that was so impactful that impacted him, and it's been an ongoing respect for you. And
Yeah, I grew
and
up singing this. I mean,
he did, and like he was like, "You're never gonna believe it." And I'm
UND
like,
and Silk was my favorite.
I know. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
boy, stop. Like, get out of here. Okay, like, go do your. So that's what that was funny. I wasn't
Yeah.
gonna bring up how they met, but I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's
guess
all
he
good.
wanted to.
Everything that happens,
You didn't know that?
but see, the thing
I
is,
remember
people.
every like when Will first came and worked at the barbershop, he talked about you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there was because that was right around the same town or same time. It was right around the same time.
Yeah.
That all shapes your journey.
It does.
And look
it
where we
does.
are. What,
all
14
shapes your journey.
14 years later.
At a church.
See,
Yeah.
see, because see, that's so crazy. man. That's
14
so
years
crazy.
later, here we are.
Look at it. I mean,
Yeah.
you just say, I mean, I'm a very faith-based person, so I look at things like that and I just say, man, look how God has just had his hand
And everything.
and everything, and you
Yeah.
know, on your life, on my life, and it just to bring it back full circle to sit and say we can laugh about, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Community service on the side of the
community-
highway.
right.
We was both upset at the moment. Like, we couldn't
Right.
believe it.
I'm like, man, I can't believe it. And at the time, I think I had a record out then.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, they gave me because I think I got too boisterous with the judge, and he was like, "Oh, so you think you're cool because you can pay the ticket? Community service? What? Community service? I can't be out on the road.
You didn't pull,
Like, what's up?
you didn't pull the "Do you know who I am" card?
No, I didn't hear that because I didn't want to put myself in deeper. But I was
Yeah.
hoping, like, man, you're gonna meet somebody. They gonna know who you are. You might catch them. But I think I even just told you. I don't even know if
Yeah,
you
'cause-
remembered or not.
Because you sat in front of me, and nobody on the bus knew who he was.
Right.
But I'm looking at his side profile. I'm like, saying, man, hold on.
That's funny. You should have went in disguise. You should have put like a wig on or
No,
something.
at that point, it was just one of the things. I'm thinking, okay, community service. I'm in Romulus. Who gonna know me?
It
out
was in
here?
Romulus.
Who gonna know me out here?
We'll pay. We'll pay.
Sit behind. Hey, man. Ain't you?
Almost.
Look, ain't you, old boy? Oh, no. I was like, all right, well,
You
whatever.
old boy from
Right.
UNV.
That's
I was like,
so
cat's out
funny.
the bag now. Whatever.
That's
It's all
cool.
good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
But everything always comes back full circle,
It
and
does.
I
that's
keep wanting
one
to
of
say
the
no
things
pun
we
intended
preach.
because every time I hear full circle, I look at it like no
Oh,
pun intended.
yeah.
'Cause where I kind of circle.
Or
but that's
trust
funny.
the process.
Trust the process.
All about trust the process.
Trust the
Yeah.
process, for sure.
Because when you're in that moment, when you're going through something, it's so hard to kind of like look
to the
I
future.
train myself when I'm going through something to just start saying, "This too shall pass."
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you think about it, everything that you go through, it's like this too shall pass.
Yeah.
And if you can
Season.
somehow look in the future and say it's
Not
gonna
even
be
the future,
okay.
just a
Or
season.
Yeah.
It's a season.
Yeah.
You can-
Yeah.
And that's what I use all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
I want all of you today, at some point this evening, to look up the single. The single is talking about exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
It's talking about, from a mental health standpoint, as fathers, as African American males, or any male,
Yeah.
when you deal with what you deal with, everybody expects you to be Superman all the
There's a
time.
stigma. There's such a
You
stigma.
can never have the Clark Kent moment of vulnerability. So this song talks about just sometimes you got to be able to call on somebody.
Is that the help
Help
me
me.
song?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll-
Yeah.
But and you bring that up though. But I think it's such more predominant in the African American
It is.
community than other communities, and for you to touch base on that is so respectable because it's real and it's true, and for you to actually talk about it, unbelievable.
It's just, you have, sometimes you'll have a vulnerable moment where, as an artist, you have to tap into just sometimes being vulnerable. It's not
Being
always
human.
about bling bling and this, that, and the third. Sometimes you really got to put your emotions on your sleeve
For sure.
and just put it out there. When you hear the song, when you hear what I'm talking about, you'll be like, wow, he was talking exactly. I mean, it's talking about being in a dark place at some point, feeling like you got the world on your shoulders and you don't have anybody to necessarily vent to. You can't, as an African American, a lot of times we don't talk much. We hold it all in. We
Yeah,
bottle it
that's
up.
what we were
We hold it up.
programmed to do.
And then it
Yeah.
explodes on people, or you end up with anger issues, and then your wife's like, you're always angry, you're always upset, but you don't know I'm secretly going through this pain, and I
Yeah.
just don't have anybody to talk to
You
about
haven't
it.
been taught to
To
let
be
it
able to
out.
express
yeah,
it,
and
right.
be vulnerable.
And so this was my first time as an individual, and being able to share that with my children, to be able to say sometimes it's okay to get help.
It's okay to not be okay.
It's okay to talk to somebody. It's okay to, you as a black man used to think, shrink back in the day, what? No, not me. But it's so much, and my wife and I, we teach that to our children. Listen, you need to talk to somebody, whether it's us or somebody else. We will make it happen. Don't
Yeah.
feel no kind of way.
I love that.
Just get it out,
Yeah.
get it out, because we don't want you to bottle that up and it turn into things later. So
Yeah.
help me. That's what
I
it's
love
about.
that.
Great.
That's amazing. And you guys check that video out on BET. Is it on YouTube?
It's on
And
YouTube.
It's on YouTube
TiVo,
as well.
everything.
So
Apple
we're gonna
Music.
wrap this conversation up, but I want to give one thing. What is the future look like for JPoww?
Future for JPoww. Listen, I am going to continue to do what I do as an entrepreneur. My goal is to never have to work in corporate America again.
Amen.
Nothing against corporate America, but
No, amen to
I
that.
love being my own boss. I don't mind putting in the work to do what I need to do. But for me, not only just music, from every facet of the game, I want to just set up my children for generational wealth. And that's the key for me, to leave something behind, leave a legacy, leave something for my children that's bigger than just a few records here and there. A business they can inherit and do what they do.
I think you're doing just fine with that, sir. I think you're doing well.
And keep it moving.
Keep doing what you're doing.
We gotta tell you.
Hey, listen, it's coming out. Tyra on the track is coming out. So we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you so very much for
No,
taking the
thank you all
time
for
out
having
today, for being here with us.
Absolutely.
Did you want to close this out, Brooke?
You want to sing us out?
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, we put you on the spot.
Do the help? How about a little?
Yeah, how about you give a
Help me.
little snippet?
Yeah, give us a little snip.
Let me see.
You can help me, or you can go old school, whichever one.
All right, let's go old school.
Oh, okay.
All right, let me record you real quick. Hold on.
Oh my gosh.
I got my phone too.
All right, let me get a
Matter of fact, let's lock our phones out.
So we close it out today with JPoww bringing some old school back with us.
Old school UNV. So my part of the
Ooh,
song.
all right.
Now you stay out all night and you don't even call. We barely kiss, we barely hug, we barely touch at all. That's all you have.
Hey, we like that. That was amazing.
What is that, alto?
That- That took me back.
Yeah.
Like that kind of
An
took me
alto.
I like wanted to get the chorus.
yeah, I'm
like
like,
I was already
Jordan.
starting with you.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to the Realest People in Real Estate podcast. Stay tuned for next week. I don't know if we have anybody next week.
Well, we're taking next week off.
We're taking next week
For the
off.
holiday.
We'll see you the next
So
week
the
after
following
that.
week after, and we'll promote this, and then this is going to air on our YouTube channel when.
Not this Monday, but the next Monday after that.
Next Monday after that.
In June.
And just so you know, you can follow me
Yeah,
at
there you go.
Yes.
JPoww of UNV, and that's JPoww of UNV on Instagram, and just John Poww with 2 W's on Facebook. Definitely.
And Power Customs.
Power Customs, yes, PowerCustomCollections.com is the website as well for that. So you can also find my music there as well.
And help me
All
as
digital
well.
outlets.
Help me.
Help me is
We're
out.
gonna keep going. Because I feel like there's more.
Digital outlets.
Help me is out.
Help Me is out, Spotify, Apple Music, all digital outlets. The new album drops Independence Day called Soul Not For Sale.
Oh, I like that. Ooh, I like that. That's
And
good
we-
one.
We didn't even talk
Ooh,
about
we
that.
didn't talk about
We'll
that.
get to that. I'll come back.
Part
Okay, we need a part 2.
All right,
We need to
guys.
ask about Madonna.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, we did. We didn't talk about that.
We got stuff.
We got part 2.
No doubt.
All right.
All right.
Bye, guys. Peace.
Peace.
Bye.
Hold on, y'all two stay still. No, y'all good.
Feel right.